don't. If it is the only thing that you own, come out with an entire blush range in this formula. This is turning out so bad. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or hi, or welcome if you're new here. Today we're doing a full face of the most expensive makeup that I own. My kind of idea behind this video was, if something is the most expensive product that I own, it should be the best product that I own, right? And it should be able to work with all of the other most expensive products that I own, right? So that is what we're gonna test today. One, are each of these products worth the price on their own? And two, will they come together to make a beautiful makeup look? Because a full face of the most expensive products that I own should be the most beautiful face of makeup I've ever worn. This is the look that we ended up with today, and so let's see how we got here and if any of this really expensive makeup is worth the price. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. It is currently 8:30 in the morning, so if I'm a little slow at the start of this video, that is why I am on my second coffee of the day though, so hopefully I can speed up a little bit. I'm actually going to start this video with my eyes because I'm going to be using a palette that has a lot of fallout, so I'm just going to put on these little reusable eye patches just to catch most of that fallout. Also, it is 8:30 in the morning. I just took these out of the fridge. If you know, you know. We're going with the Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge eyeshadow palette. This is a $69 eyeshadow palette. So is this worth $69? Personally, I think yes, and I'm gonna explain that to you while I do an eyeshadow look. So first I'm gonna take the shade Love Anarchy and just kind of buff that into my crease. In this one palette, you get 8 different eyeshadow formulas, which is a lot for an eyeshadow palette. Normally you'll get 2, 3, maybe 4 if you're lucky, but 8 different eyeshadow formulas is a lot to have to formulate to go into just one product that you're selling. So it does actually make the production cost a little bit higher when putting so many different formulas into a palette. I'm just gonna take the shade Nirvana, that really dark purple. And not to mention, this palette has a lot of pinks and purples, which purples are notoriously difficult to formulate. They didn't skimp on any of the quality. They didn't say, oh, we'll just like give them a shimmer, but it doesn't have to be great. Like the formulas in here are exceptional. They are on like a lot of other formulas on the market. And so for them to just make something like this shade Rebel or Maverick, like this shade right here, it's like this weird kind of creamy, chunky glitter. Like this is an extremely unique and probably very expensive formula. And it's only in one shadow in the entire palette. Also, the longevity of these shadows. I'm trying to wipe that off of my hands and I literally can't. I went swimming with this eyeshadow palette on and these shadows were still on my eyes when I got out of the pool. 18 pans of extremely high quality eyeshadows. Honestly, this palette should be more than $69. I'm actually gonna take that shade Rebel, mix it together on the back of my hand, and then I'm going to pop that on my lid. And I actually don't think, for $69, I really don't think that they're upcharging too much on this palette because it is quite an expensive palette to make. And also the custom kind of, you see these shades, that is just like a custom mix kind of press of those colors. I do not think you are being gypped with the Huda Beauty 18 pan eyeshadows. I guess they're not making these anymore, which is actually really sad. So it's sad to see them go. However, if you can get your hands on one of them, they are phenomenal, phenomenal quality. I'm gonna take these off and then I'm just gonna clean up my bottom lash line with some Bioderma. Now let's get into the face, starting with a face primer. The most expensive face primer that I own is the iconic London Underglow Blurring Primer. This is $30. Do I think that this primer is worth $30? Personally, I don't. I know that this is like a holy grail cult classic for so many people. And when you look at the formula, it does look really nice. Like they have a lot of nice call outs, like they have these micro blurring spheres. Like you can tell that they really took their time on this formula to try and make something really, really unique and really, really great. First of all, I hate the packaging. Absolutely hate this packaging. What is that? Disgusting. Disgusting. In terms of being a glowy primer, it's just not the most. And in terms of blurring, I just, with or without makeup, don't really notice really any difference. Making my makeup apply smoother, I just don't notice as much of a difference as I do with like the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion. It makes my makeup look better longer, whereas I don't quite get that result with this. So do I think it's a bad product? No. Do I think it's worth $30? Not when you can get something for more affordable that I personally think just works a little bit better. So that's personally just like a skip for me. I low-key regret spending my money on that. The most expensive foundation that I own is the It Cosmetics CC Plus. This is $47. I have the shade Fair Porcelain. This product just has so many things in it, so much going on that people try and dupe it all the time. Like e.l.f. has tried to dupe it. A lot of brands try and dupe the CC cream, but none of them can really get it quite right. They all kind of get 2 of the things, 3 of the things kind of the same, but then the rest of the formula they just can't nail. This has a SPF 50 and it is full coverage, and it looks natural because it has a lot of skincare in it. It is mostly like a hydrating serum, which I'm not necessarily using this for the hydration. If you want to see my opinion on putting skincare ingredients in makeup, you can watch this video right here. But I feel like a lot of brands either try and make it hydrating and then sacrifice the coverage, or try and make it the higher SPF and sacrifice the coverage, or they get the coverage and then they make it like an SPF 25 instead of an SPF 50. With the amount of product that you are applying with this foundation, you're probably not getting SPF 50, but having an SPF 50 in a product is better than having like an SPF 15. You should be wearing an additional SPF on your own anyway. And it is a very, very nice formula. It is somehow full coverage, but still really looks like skin. It's one of the most natural finish full coverage foundations. And so a lot of brands, while they try and dupe it, they can come out with something similar, but they can never match exactly the It Cosmetics CC+. Depending on what aspects of this foundation are important to you, maybe it's not worth the money because maybe you can find a better dupe somewhere, but if you love this for its all-encompassing kind of everything about it, there's really nothing else quite like it. And It Cosmetics really is one of those brands that is a little bit expensive. However, their formulas are fantastic. They don't launch all the time. They only launch when they have something innovative to bring to the market. And that's what I really respect about this brand, and why I think they kind of earn their price tag a little bit, because they're not dropping a collection, you know, every season. They are releasing a product when they have an innovative formula to bring to the market. So for those reasons, I would say that It Cosmetics generally most of the time is worth the money. This, if you want everything about it, it is worth the money. No brand can absolutely dupe this. One thing I want to point out about that Iconic London primer is this is clinging to dry patches, like right here on this breakout that's going away. It's clinging to the dryness, which normally with this foundation, I do not have an issue with it looking dry or clinging to anything. It's usually very radiant and very hydrating looking on the skin. And so that's another reason I don't love this. It adds a little bit of glow, but it doesn't actually add, you know, that kind of moisture to the skin. The most expensive concealer that I own is the YSL Touche Eclat brightening pen. And is this worth $40 for, let me get the accurate number, 0.08 ounces. Let that number sink in, 0.08 ounces. In a look like this, I'm just gonna say definitely not worth the money. This is probably not the correct concealer to use with this look because this offers a very, very minimal coverage. So I'm going to load it up a little bit. I am applying right now a lot more than I normally would because we just have a more coverage, a more fuller glam look going on with the eyes and the foundation. And this is a very light coverage, a very kind of skin-like, no makeup kind of product. If you apply this lightly, blend it into the skin, it's almost undetectable. It almost like becomes one with the skin, has a really nice finish, and it's very light coverage, so there's not a lot of product building up on top of the skin. And you don't want it to look like you're wearing concealer, but you just want it to look like you don't need concealer. That is when I would say that this is worth it, when you are not wearing any other makeup. However, if you are wearing a lot of makeup and you're trying to do a fuller look, not throwing your money away, but it's not the best use of your money to get something like this if you're going to use it every single day and a lot of it all at once. Definitely not the way to go. So right now, is this worth $40? In most circumstances, no, this is not worth $40. That is an insane price tag for a very, very little amount of product, but the formula is very gorgeous. And if it is the only thing that you own and you are a no makeup kind of girl, then I think this could absolutely be worth your money. However, the new Essence Correcting Conceals are very, very similar. Those are like a under eye corrector kind of brightener shade though, so they're like pinky and orangey. So those may not be the best for you, so you may want to end up with something like this. But if those shades do work for you and you can just wear them under your eyes, no issue, then maybe I would recommend going for those because they're $5 instead of $40. And for cream bronzer, technically, my most expensive cream bronzer is from Divs. However, that is like a duo-ended cream bronzer plus cream blush. So if we're just talking about the bronzer, it's actually not the most expensive bronzer I own. And the most expensive cream bronzer I own is from Rare Beauty. This is in the shade Bright Side. This is $28, and in my opinion, is this worth $28? No. And this is absolutely no hate to Rare Beauty, no hate to Selena. I love Selena, I love Rare Beauty. Okay, please don't send me death threats. It's happened before. But just in terms of this bronzer compared to every other bronzer on the market, the shade range for this bronzer is not that great. This is the second shade in the range, and this is the coolest tone bronzer that they make. The shade lighter than this is completely orange and just doesn't work for me at all. This still pulls a very, very orange tone on my face, much more orange than I would personally like. And when it came out, it was pretty blendable. However, the formula does dry out a little bit quickly, and it's just not, now that I've tried more cream bronzers, it's just not the most blendable cream bronzer that I own. And it's not a bad bronzer. It's not a bad bronzer. It's just not the most blendable cream bronzer that I own. It's decently blendable, but you know, when I have something that is creamier, that works better for me, like the dipstick, this is just not something that I find myself reaching for as much anymore. And so I think this is fine. However, if you were going to get a cream bronzer, there are other brands that I would recommend before I recommend the Rare Beauty bronzer stick. Again, no hate to Selena, love Rare Beauty. This one just didn't hit for me, and that's okay. Now in cream blushes, the most expensive cream blush that I own is again from IT Cosmetics. This is the Sun Blush. This is $34, so pretty up there for a cream blush. But my thoughts on IT Cosmetics still stand. I still think that they are typically worth the money because the formulas are so innovative, and this is no exception. It is a very, very unique formula. It's a cream in here, but then once you touch it, it kind of melts like a gel underneath the warmth of your fingers. And then when you blend it out, it really just kind of feels like water on the skin. Like it blends out super thin like water. Very, very unique. I haven't tried a cream blush formula quite like this before. Also, if it looks like I'm using weird brushes in this video, I am. I washed my brushes last night and not all my face brushes are dry yet, so that is why I'm using a stippling brush for this. These are the Sun blushes, so these are kind of supposed to be bronzer shades, kind of that sun-kissed warmth in the cheeks, which they definitely achieve that with these shades. These are very sun-kissed shades, all quite warm toned. Unfortunately, that's just not always my vibe. I love berries and purples and pinks, and these are very, very warm. One of the best, most unique blush formulas I've ever used. So I wish that they came out with a full range, and then I would say absolutely worth the money because the formula is exceptional. However, they only have, I believe, 3 or 4 shades, and they're all very, very warm toned. If they had an entire range, then I would say yes, but they don't, and I want them. IT Cosmetics, if you see this, why is this not an entire blush range? Come out with an entire blush range in this formula. It is, I cannot comprehend why you would not do that. This formula is so good. Everyone needs to try it. It is phenomenal. Come out with an entire range. Also, if my hair looks terrible in this video, or like it just looks like it's really dry, it's because it is, okay? I tried a new hair gloss. It did the opposite of a gloss. I don't know what went wrong, but it was terrible. It was the DP Hue Glossy Glaze. I love the Gloss Plus. This was the Glossy Glaze, and it, yeah, no, my hair is not sliving right now. Let's get into setting powder. This is the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder. This is $52 for 10.5 grams. The price per ounce already immediate no. That is crazy. That is crazy. However, it's a really beautiful setting powder. It is really, really gorgeous, and I hate to say that. It actually infuriates me to say that about a $52 powder. I will say one thing that I don't actually like about this powder is that the glitter in here shows up on the face. Like for $52, why is the glitter showing up on my face? That's why I like to go in with a fluffy brush, because that kind of eliminates a lot of that glitter. It does, I will say, get very glowy fairly quickly on the face throughout the day. Like in about an hour, I'm gonna look like I didn't powder at all. The makeup will be blurred, but it will also be glowy. So I think it's very unique in that sense, because again, those are things that don't really go together, and that's something that the Iconic London Primer tries to do, but doesn't quite succeed at, because glowy and blurring together are that's kind of an oxymoron. Those things don't really go together. This powder can put them together. So I think it's very unique in that aspect. So if you are going to wear this powder, say like all day, you're gonna need a separate powder, like a pressed matte powder to touch up with, because you are going to be very, very glowy. The most similar product that I can think of to this would be the e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder, but even that's not the exact same. That's also not glittery. So, however, the e.l.f. one is not as blurring as the Hourglass. So while I think this is a really great powder, it's definitely not for everyone. It is quite unique. I think I'm trying to talk myself into or out of what this is worth. So this one's gonna be up to you. Do you think that this is worth $52? Because that's not cheap. That is not cheap. And for 10 grams, people go through setting powders fairly quickly, especially loose ones. So you're gonna run through this. Now for a powder blush, my most expensive powder blush that I own is the Clinique Cheek Pops. This is in the shade Black Honey Pop. However, any of the shades, all of the shades are so gorgeous. Is this worth $30? Absolutely. On every planet, in every lifetime. This is such a gorgeous blush formula. It has such a gorgeous sheen to it. It's not glittery, it's not shimmery. It just has such a nice sheen. It looks extremely skin-like while being a powder. Uber blendable. I do not have a single con to talk about with the Clinique Cheek Pop blushes. I have used these blushes for years. I would own every shade. I don't know why I don't, because I own a lot of makeup and I don't need every shade. However, the formula on these, so good. There is really nothing else that I can compare to it. The closest thing might be like the REM Beauty, but even those are a little bit more matte and a little bit more powdery. I'm not pretending that $30 is cheap. I'm not saying that at all whatsoever, but I am saying that they are worth $30. I feel like I don't need to spend too much time right here talking about this because I feel like I've said what I need to say. It's perfect, it's beautiful, it's worth every single dollar. And my most expensive powder bronzer, this is from RMS Beauty. This is the Redimension Hydra Bronzer. This is the shade Beach Walk Betty. It's supposed to be a slight pinkier tone. This is supposed to be like a gel to a powder kind of formula. I don't quite notice that. I just know that this is not too pigmented. So maybe that's where like the gel aspect comes in. And it's supposed to be a more pink toned bronzer. However, I really don't notice that on my skin tone. It still pulls quite orange. And these just aren't the most blendable bronzer formula. Like I just applied a little bit too much. And they're really hard to blend out. So you have to be very careful with these because that, like, I'm gonna sit here for like 8 minutes trying to blend this out. All right, so I went back over with my setting powder brush to try and blend it out. It's as good as it's gonna get. Just talking about the formula, do I think that this is worth $36? No. I don't love the formula. It's not that blendable. It's very sheeny, which is really nice. I do like that about it. It's a really nice summer bronzer, but even that, you can see there's still that stripe. Like these do not blend well at all. I know a lot of people love these and I just don't get it. Like I look so orange right now. I cannot wait to get you guys up close and personal at the end because this is looking like shit. Okay, let's just skip right along to highlight, and the most expensive highlight that I own is the Laura Mercier Matte Baked Radiance Powder in Highlight 01. This is a classic. This is an oldie but a goodie. This thing, guess how long I've had this? Guess how long I've had this? It's pushing like 9 years. I have had this for so long. It's probably expired. I should probably get rid of it. However, I can't because it is so beautiful. I feel like we don't even need highlight because everything on our cheeks is so glowy. And you also get a bunch of it. You get 7.5 grams, a subtle, almost a lit from within glow to the face. It is $49 though. So I do think if you want to spend the money on this, it is absolutely worth the money. It's going to last you a very long time. You are going to get your money's worth out of this. But I think you can just get something a little bit cheaper for probably fairly similar quality at the drugstore. But back in the Dizzle, when I bought this, there really wasn't anything else like it at the drugstore, which is why I bought it. Okay, I just finished up my lower lash line off camera. I'm gonna pop in some brow gel. This is the Kosas Air Brow. This is the most expensive one I own. This is the mini size though, but the full size is $24. Wow. Do I think this is worth $24? For me personally, I am going to repurchase the full size when I run out of this one, because I like a lot of holds in my brows, but I also don't like my brow gel being hard to remove. That just comes with having a strong hold brow gel, is that you're gonna be like ripping at your brows with your cleansing balm at the end of the night. But I like that this has, it's not the strongest hold in the entire world, but it is like medium to high hold, but it still comes out very easily with a cleansing balm at the end of the night, so I'm not pulling out my brow hairs, which I personally really love. So I think this is worth the money for me personally. And now for mascara. The most expensive mascara I own is House Labs. This is $29, and it's quite possibly also the worst mascara I own. Like, it actually frustrates me using this mascara because it's so bad. I use it the way that they say to use it. I've used it in the way that I would just use any other mascara, and I have never been able to make this mascara look good. It is clumpy mess. I cannot, you're being ripped off with this mascara. I understand that they tried to put like hair care in this mascara, so I think that like that's why it's so expensive. I don't know, they tried to like put in ingredients to make your lashes nicer. I don't know. I'm just like, you can probably tell by the way I'm talking about this mascara. I despise it. Okay, let's finish everything up with the lips. The most expensive lip liner I own is the MAC lip pencil, which I actually was shocked to find out that this was the most expensive lip liner I own. When I think of MAC, I think like kind of mid to high range, and so this is $25, which is fairly high. I really thought that like my Kosas lip liner would be higher than that, or like my Huda Beauty, but both of those are more affordable than MAC. MAC is one of those brands that have really stood the test of time because the quality is just fantastic. They have everything you'll ever need, every shade you could ever need, every formula you could ever need. MAC has it, and they do it really, really well. And there are some really great affordable lip liner formulas. I'm not saying this is the greatest of all time. It is up there. If there's a specific shade that you want that you cannot find anywhere, MAC has it. And so I think for that purpose, yeah, MAC is worth the money, because if you need something and you cannot find it anywhere, you think that shade does not exist, MAC has it. MAC has it. And then my lipstick and my lip gloss are both from the same company, which is Lip Lab. The lipstick is $65 and the gloss is $55, which are insane for a lip product. I did get them at Lip Lab. You are able to custom mix a lip product, a shade that you want, whatever kind of shade you want. You can spend a very long time in there, just mix and match and play with all of these different things. So really you are paying for the experience of creating your own lip color more so than say like the formula. They're not bad formulas. However, you are paying for the fact that you're spending an hour in there getting a one-on-one, creating a custom lip color with you. Personally, do I think that these are worth the money? I think if you go with like a group of people, because I vlogged my entire time at Lip Lab and I personally didn't have the best time there. So for me, I didn't love it. I think it was a bit expensive for the experience that I had, but also I'm just an anxious person in general. So I think doing something like this was a little bit much for me. And I also went by myself. I think if you're with a group of friends, it could be a really, really fun experience. However, I was getting anxious and stressed out throughout my entire experience. So I did not have a great time making these custom lip shades, but I don't think that that is going to be the case for everybody. And I ended up leaving with shades that I don't love. They were out of certain shades when I was there, and also like my anxiety. I was just like, they're saying that this is the one I should pick, so that's the one I should pick, even though I didn't really love the shade. But the quality of the products is really nice. They are good formulas. And I think the price of the experience is worth it if, again, you're going with like a group of friends or it's like an event that you're going. It's not like, don't go by yourself. Do not go by yourself. I went by myself. I regret it. It was not a good time. And here we have it, a full face of the most expensive makeup that I own. I'm gonna get you up close and personal. So this is my makeup up close and personal, how everything is looking on my skin, all of the makeup together. My makeup doesn't look good. Like I would take this off and redo it before I left the house. Like the concealer is like separating and breaking apart. This concealer, gorgeous on its own. However, it does not play well with other makeup. Looking really dry. I really blame this Iconic London primer, because normally that foundation, I have no issues with it clinging or looking dry, but my skin looks so dry. That powder is really clinging in the creases of my nose. I will say the eyeshadow looks amazing. The eyeshadow looks amazing because the Huda Beauty palette is fantastic. And so just because something is expensive does not mean it is one, worth the price, or two, the right product for you, or that it's going to be an ease-free product. It's going to be better. It's going to be able to work with more things, because this is a full face of the most expensive makeup that I own, and I don't think everything works well together. I think there's a lot of products that I would have switched out. I would have used a different setting powder, and I would have used a different concealer. I would have used different shades of blushes and bronzers, because I just don't love how everything turned out. There are a couple drugstore options that I wish I had right now. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. But we cannot analyze the text of what if this happened. We have to analyze the text as it did happen. The fat side, it is the blurring underglow, but it is the with some Bioderma, because we do get, because there is a little bit of, also if it looks like I'm using weird brushes, it's sheeny skin like